Alright, here's a quick video for Gabe on how to do power chords. So first of all, it's the worst types of guitars to learn power chords on are actually this kind is the absolute worst because the neck is so wide and the strings on nylon guitars are really thick. These are the worst. These are the worst guitars to learn power chords on. Acoustic guitars are a little harder, but it really depends on how thick your string gauge is. So that's usually measured. When people talk about string gauge, it's measured by the top string. So if you're playing like 12s, would mean that's the measurement for the top string. 12s would be really thick. So all the strings are going to be really thick, and it's going to really hurt when you're learning to hold down the power chords. So one thing you can do if you're playing acoustic is get thinner strings, like go into the store and ask for 10s or even 9s, and all the strings will be thinner. Or you can just ask the guy for thinner strings because your fingers are hurting, and then it will make it a lot easier to learn power chords. And on electric guitar, the strings tend to be thinner in general, so it's not that electric guitar is easier to play power chords on because of the body or anything. It's mainly just because of the string gauge, but also the neck sometimes matters. Like this neck is super thick, so it's harder to learn power chords. So here's how I think about it. Here's how I teach it. The first thing you have to learn how to do is keep this finger really flat, because a lot of people want to always curl their finger up. Like, I don't know if I can show it. Like, they'll put their finger like this, and they'll try to play, like, they'll start learning power chord with that finger like this. You don't want to do that. Normally when you're playing guitar, you play on the tips of your fingers, like up here, on the tips of my fingers, or like with these kind of chords, I'm on the tips. When you're doing bar chords or power chords, you actually want to lay your finger like that. And I think it's good to learn how to do it on the 5th fret to start. So you just put your first finger like that, but make sure that you can go like this. So you can't be on the tip and do that. You gotta be like that. And one way to practice this is to just strum all the strings. So you only heard one note, you can slide around. I'm actually hitting all of the strings right now, but this finger is laying on all the strings. So that's what you need to be worrying about with this finger. And then the hardest part for most people also is, the next hard part is getting these two fingers to be smashed together. So one thing you can do is you can do like the Spock thing. But you gotta curl your fingers up and then tuck your pinky under your third finger. And they can't be like that. They have to be like really curved, so there's a flat surface right there. And then you just lock your fingers like this. And so put them together, curl them up, and then you should feel like a flat surface here. And your fingers, when you're doing power chords, are not going to move. They're going to stay like this, and they're going to stay tight. So I'll play some power chords real quick so you can see what I mean. Just this finger is going to be flat, and these ones are going to be together. Strings. So what's hard for people is to learn how, this is kind of hard, but this is the hard part. So one thing I found to get this feeling down, aside from just going for it and putting your fingers on there, is to put your fingers up here put your third finger right here and your pinky right here. And one way that you might already have this feeling is a lot of people play G chord like this. I don't know if you know G chord like that, which a lot of people learn, then all you do is get rid of this finger. So you have your pinky and your third finger like that, and then you can make sure they're on their tips, and then you play both these strings with the pick. And you go like this, you do it on the 3rd fret, and then you slide to the 5th fret. And if you're doing it right, you're going to be able to do it. If you're on the tips and they're firm, which you're going to need for power chords, you'll be able to do this. And then you slide to the 7th fret, and then to the 8th fret, and then to the 10th fret. So it's 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. And I find like when I leave my students with this, they end up knowing how to do power chords pretty quick after that. So that's one little exercise you can do to get this feeling, and you can also just during your day you can just get your fingers used to going like that. Because like for me, when I go to a power chord, and most guitar players, their fingers just go into that shape, and then you can move it around as fast as you want because these fingers never come apart. So then once you start to get this feeling, the best song I think to start learning power chords is just this Ramones song, the Blitzkreig Bop, because it's using one of the most simple chord progressions ever, which is called a 1-4-5 chord progression. And I would do it right here. So first thing you want to do is just learn the bass notes. So 5, then you go up to 5 right here, and then you go over to 7. So it's 5. I'm going to kind of simplify the rhythm so it's easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 5th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4. 7th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's helpful to learn the bass part first and only do it with this finger. Make sure it's flat. So don't let it go up like that. Once you can do that, then you got to add these two fingers, and if you've done this exercise, it'll get easier. So you smash them together, and the power chord shape is always the same, unless you play power chords up high, but most people don't do that. So it's always like here's the 5th fret, then you go over 2 frets, up 1, and then you put your pinky above that. So once you got that, then you should be able to strum. And you do 4 strums. 8 strums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's more to the song than that, but I wouldn't worry about it. The point is just learn how to do these power chord shapes. So something else I see beginners do, even once they have this feeling down, they can keep this finger flat, these fingers smashed together, they'll go like, and then they'll do like what I call the spider crawl. They'll take all the fingers apart and crawl up, and then instead of just sliding over, I'll see them relax their hand and put each finger down. So every time you relax your hand, you have to do all the work over again. So you never want to relax your hand when you're doing power chords. You just keep it in this shape, and you move this shape around with your hand tight. So I lift all my fingers at the same time. I just move them up a tiny bit. Then I just slide over. So if this song is too hard for you, don't worry about that. Just try to learn how to do power chord right here on 5th fret. It's a little harder to do power chords up here. One last thing I would say is when you're doing power chords on the A string, is make sure the tip of your finger is touching the low E string, because you don't want it to sound like this. You want it to sound like this, but occasionally you're going to hit this string on accident. So make sure the tip of this finger when you're on the A string is there. And if you can do this song, another good song to learn with power chords it's good just because it's hard actually is the old Smells Like Teen Spirit song. So the reason why this is good to learn is because you have to use F. This is F5. And this is the hardest power chord to play. And this is also one of the hardest ones to play because it's so wide and the strings are tighter here. So if you can learn how to do this song, then you can really learn any song with power chords. So basically you just want to go. So it's the 1st fret, then the 1st fret on the A string, then the 4th fret. So I've dropped out the complicated strumming pattern because if you're learning power chords, you don't need to worry about strum patterns. So 3 strums, 2 strums, 3 strums, 2 strums. So same thing, you don't want to do spider crawl. You don't want to do this. Just keep your hand tight. Lift all of them up. Move them up. Keep it tight when you move over here. And still keep it tight. Now I'll just do it fast so you can see my hand. These fingers are smashed together. This finger stays flat and never comes up. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a great song because if you can do this F5 chord right here, then when you move up higher, everything else is easier up here. So hopefully that was helpful. If not, let me know and I will add to this lesson. Thanks, bye.